All right. I'm going to try something. I don't know how the internet's going to work on my computer here. I thought it was okay, but obviously it just popped in live. I think I'll be able to see comments, but I wanted to see if I can hook up the software to show you something cool. I hope the voice is okay. I can't, this is all new to me, so we're going to try something. So first of all, I've got to switch you over, and I was able to do that by clicking on this button. Ooh, okay. And now I have to go here. Oh, look at that. Okay, very good. Exciting. Now I'm going to get rid of me for a little bit. And I think I do that by putting my mouse cursor down, whoops, off of here. You guys are my test subjects here. And I'm going to click on this. Ooh, it says microphone off. Well, I don't know what that meant. Can you guys hear? Hopefully you guys can hear me. It says it's working. Anyway, okay. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to delete this and then no one has to see me do it. All right. What I wanted to show you is this is my StitchArtist. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Oh, if you can comment that someone's here, that would be awesome if I could actually see. I got a thumbs up, so that's a good thing. It means I'm not here all by myself. All right. One of the things that people like to ask is, or they do ask, is how to modify an existing design using StitchArtist. Now, one of the things that I like to do, especially when you're looking at design, first of all, this original design, someone needs to make a note. It's 16,893. I should write that down on a piece of paper here because I was practicing this earlier and I didn't write it down. So 16,893. That's the total numbers of stitches. This is a design from Embroidery Library, and it is it's a decent size design, about a little bit smaller than 5x7, 5x5 design. And there's a lot of stitches in it because it's all solid. And if you want to cut down some of your stitching time, it'd be nice to get rid of some of these extra things. For example, I'm looking at the birdhouse itself, and this would be really very easy to say make, I'm showing you with my hands, I need to show with the mouse, this birdhouse here, an applique. And one way of doing that is simply by drawing a shape around it. But if you have StitchArtist 3, there is a function here that says auto outline stitches. Now we use this a lot for doing our clouds for key fobs. When you have lettering and you want to put an outline around it, you can do the whole thing. But it also works by color. So if I select the outline or this fill stitch here and I click on the outline stitches, I click on this outline stitches to a page. Do you see what happens? It drew an object and it throws it right at the bottom. So it says, oh, someone said good evening. I'm not sure who did, but someone did. It's not giving me complete information, but someone said good evening. Hello. I'm not alone. All right. So I drew my object. So the way I did it again, selected my color, StitchArtist 3 went up to auto outline images or stitches. And here at the bottom, it created an object of my outline. Now, if you zoom in on this, you'll see that it basically tries to outline all the stitches on the page. So this is easy enough to select stitches, or select nodes, I should say, and delete to make a straight line going across. And I'll do the same with the side here. I mean, we don't need these dorky stitches. I don't know what it did. It does it best it can, but we just need straight lines. Look at all this hunky-dory stuff here at the bottom. Select it all and delete it all. This is nice and easy. I created my outline shape. And if I wanted to turn this into an applique, I have my object. All I have to do is, while this object is selected, go up here to my applique properties, click applique, and poof, I have an applique shape right there. Now, on my applique shape here, there you have your border stitches. And for this particular example, my thought process is I'm going to stitch the applique before any of the other stitches go through. And I'm going to let the roof and the bottom lay on top. So there's going to be a border already on this bottom. So I don't need to have a satin border going all the way around it like that. I don't need that because then I'm gonna deal with remove hidden stitches, which is not digitizing or drawing it manually. And I'm going to show you a shortcut. So we're going to change this to none. We're going to have our position and our material. Now it shows as a fabric preview, and I'm just going to turn that, leave that turned on. But if you go to your color option here, this fabric preview is the color of your applique position. So if you click on the stitch here, you can go to your color change area here and, oh, where was I? Maybe there was a red color. Boom. That looks pink. Click OK. This is what the fabric shape is going to be of the applique. So it's going to stitch a placement. You put your fabric down. It's going to stitch material tack down. And it's saying you can cut a hole in the center. Now, if you want to, say you're stitching this on fabric and you want that background fabric over here to show through here, this is a perfectly fine way of leaving this. However, my thought process is, especially when I'm looking at this design, you see that black, this blob here? Here's some more stitches I can get rid of and put another shape of fabric here on top of it. So my personal preference is that I'm going to go to this applique shape that I just created, and I'm going to remove this hole. So I'm going to basically separate the hole because I'm just going to have a fabric, one big piece of fabric, and then I'm going to put another fabric on top of it, and then I'm going to stitch on top of those stuff. So while I have this selected, I go up to where it says create here at the top. Hopefully you guys can see this. And under, where is it? Outline, it says separate holes. So watch what happens in my object pane. Do you see the object pane where it says outline and applique? As soon as I separate holes, do you see the little shape? Boom. Look at that. You now have two shapes. You have your applique, and then you have this dorky line thing, which we don't need anymore. So I'm going to hit the delete key to get rid of it. So this is my new applique. Now it's stitching on top of everything else because I have it stitching last. So instead of having it stitched last, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and say move first, so that in my design, we can't see it because it's being hidden. I didn't delete this guy, but the first thing let's delete this guy first. This fill, we don't need him anymore. We got rid of it. Remember, we had 16,000 something stitches at the bottom here. Once I select this and I hit the delete key on my keyboard, look at that. We've already dropped down to 13,000 stitches. So, I mean, look at the time saving we're doing here. So we got this little applique shape here. This is going to stitch very first. And then the next color that stitches is this blob. Now, if you want the blob, just use your acorn, you're happy with the blob, you're good to go, and you can go on. But I want to create another applique of this shape here. So I have my blob selected. I'm going to do the exact same steps. Now, if you remember, that hole from this actually had a hole underneath here for where the top of the acorn was. So I'm glad I didn't want to use that hole for another applique shape. I'm going to use this hole. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I have this selected, same steps again. Outline stitches, and you see it adds it to the same design I was working on. So we now have an outline up here. And just for fun, or just for clarity, I'm going to select this hole here, and I'm going to hit the delete key to get rid of it. Now, this outline, I'm going to select it. I am going to go up here to where it says applique. It remembers that I just have the position. And here I have my design that already has applique, rest of the design. We're down to 12,494 stitches. I mean, that's, you're cutting down on your stuff. Now, I'm noticing here, and this is because I'm very, very picky. Do you see that little tiny stitch that's way at the bottom here? You've digitized this shape. This little applique just needs to get reshaped so that it is completely underneath the top. Now we can rest and breathe easy because you're not going to have a little piece showing here. Not a problem. Okay, but now we need to have our satin stitches going down the side on the left. We want to be professional digitizers. And I say that and I kind of giggle because my goal of digitizing is always to create beautiful designs that I watch stitch at the machine and I go, oh, this is gorgeous. So I want it to satin stitch down this side, travel with a running stitch this direction and then satin stitch up here so that the only two lines that are going to be finishing stitches are here on the left, travel, and here on the right. This I'm going to have to draw by hand. It's not hard. We're going to do it right here on screen. So we're going to use the draw with points, and it's going to take 2 clicks each time. First one, draw with points. Left click, and I'm going to right click to end. I have a line going from top to bottom. I'm going to click on satin border. Now, look at my color chip. That's an applique material that's just kind of dorky there. So I'm going to go and I'm going to change it up to something that is complementary, what I want. Now, in my satin border, we have our properties here, 3 millimeters, perfectly fine. It's going to start here at the top, and it's going to stitch my satin down to the bottom. Now I want to travel. I want to make a running stitch to go from the left over to the right. Draw with points. Left click, right click to stop, click on running stitch, go to my run, make sure it says single, boom, done. Draw with points. Left click, right click to end. What do you call that? Satin border. Boom, done. Look at this. It's put it all at the beginning of our design. So the very first things they're going to stitch are all these little outline stitches, and then it's going to stitch the rest of the design on top of the applique. And we went from 16,890 to 13,123 stitches, and we're done. I mean, wasn't that fun? Wasn't that cool? Where am I? Here I am. So, I didn't see any other questions come through. I see people, awesome. Either you didn't hear me or you didn't, I don't know how, I haven't seen the resolution on this, so I don't know how clear this is coming through in the group. Hopefully it came through okay, and hopefully it made sense. You can watch it again. I know I get excited about this stuff, but this was done in StitchArtist Level 3, and it was using the Auto Outline tool, which is up here at the top. It draws the stitches. I call it Auto Outline, but I guess it's the outline stitches. And what normally people use them for is to draw the outlines around your cloud or for your text. But in this instance, we are just using it for each individual sketch. Very clear. Thank you. Oh, I'm excellent. I have no idea who's saying these, but but I am glad I'm glad this makes sense. So this is just one more way of doing a design. Now you have to remember to pay attention to when the size of what you're working on. This is a 5x7 design. So when I'm looking at the size of my applique shape of this birdhouse, it is listed here at the bottom. Now I work in metric, so I'm really kind of happy that it's in metric. Remember, you can always switch back and forth by going to select mode, and then at the top here there is the little toggle that says inches. If I click on it correctly, possibly. I don't know. I'm looking at one screen and looking at the other one. Maybe if I go to the view menu, view, isn't there a thing that says inches here? Metric. Let's go to inches. Boom. Okay. So this birdhouse itself is almost 2 inches by 2.5 inches. So it's not very big. So you don't have to worry about, you don't want to do, there's no way I'm doing this little bird, because if this is only 2 inches, 2.5 inches tall, this bird is a lot smaller than that. I'm not doing that as an applique. I've got better things to do. But when you have a big blob of stitches that you just want to replace, okay, you've resized a design. You've taken a little 3x3 design and made it larger, and the stitches are kind of wonky in there. You can use this technique to solve that problem. I mean, sometimes things have to click. And for me, this was watching from your iPad. I can't wait to get home from vacation to play with this. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thank you for putting these comments. These are like making my day. I get to teach and I get to get interaction with you guys. Oh, I was just excited. Okay. I'm curious to hear how the sound is. I know people say they can hear me, but I don't know. And the resolution is great. So you can see me. So I'm not choppy, or at least the screen wasn't choppy. Whether I'm choppy or not, that doesn't matter. And I just have to say, I was chatting with Rob today, on and off. Rob Bird. She's out in Alaska. I don't think he's watching, but I told him that the next time I did a live, I'd have a beer on screen. So I have my beer. because it's nighttime here in Colorado, and I'm relaxing, doing my thing, enjoying this, having fun. And it was a click moment for me as far as selecting only a certain amount of stitches and drawing the shape around them. Because as I mentioned, what most people use this auto outline for is of the stitches, is to create clouds, like to do key fobs. You type in a name, you do a cloud around it, you inflate it. That's what that tool is mostly used for. The question came through, how do you typically decide density and underlay? It depends on what it is you're working on. If you're stitching on a t-shirt, you're not going to want to have, super dense designs because you don't want to have all that puckering going on. It's test, as you go. Now, one thing to pay attention to as far as, might as well, let me just get a new design here. Why do I have something here? I don't know what that's doing. I'm trying to see my screen, and I got another screen on top of my screen. Where can I go? New design. That's this one up here. No, not that one. Boom, that one. New design page. Don't want to cloud this up. Let me go to library shape. Hopefully you can see me here. Library shape, cloud. Boom. Okay, boom. Okay, so we got this blob on our screen, and my clouds have to be blue. Sorry, can't have red clouds. Gives me a headache. Boom. That works. Okay. When you put your fill in here, so I'm just going to click on the fill stitch. Okay. And you're going to find this in the units also, which is on our group. There's a section called units, and there's videos, and you'll see information on how to move your start and stop and get rid of that artifact that's sitting here. Because as you can see, we have our start and stop artifact because it's filling from one point, and it has to go down to the bottom and then fill back up. And this artifact is where you might have a blippy thing in the middle. And everyone knows what that blippy thing is. It's either the fabric gets pushed and you get the blip, especially t-shirt, or you didn't stabilize properly and it goes this way, and then you have a space in between and you're like, ee, what happened? Well, that's because of this artifact here. If you have stabilized properly and stitched it on something that's really well in your hoop and you've digitized it well, or this, you may not never notice this. But this artifact is just something to pay attention to. Anyway, density. So you go to your fill stitch. The density default is 4. That's pretty much a solid. You're going to get good coverage on that, no matter what. The key to being a digitizer is you have to do a test cell. For me personally, a 4.0 density is usually too dense. I'm at 4.6, 5.2. I make it a lighter density. Your underlay setting here is, someone's watching with a poor Wi-Fi. No one has worse internet than me. I was downloading test versions today at like 12K. Horrible. I'm glad it's working. I'm glad to do this. I'm glad it's coming through for you. I'd like to do this more often. It never worked for me before. So this is something new. You guys are my test group here. So my underlay that's set here, the default settings are always going to work for you. That are what the program is designed so that if you just use the default settings, you're going to get a good stitch out. So I adjust usually to go less stitches because I don't need heavy dents. I find that using a 5.2 or 4.6 density of my top fill stitch is plenty. And if I go to density here, this is 17 points. That's 1.7 millimeters away from each other. Let me turn off my 3D, and hopefully you can see this a little clearer here. You see that grid work underlay? That's my perpendicular underlay, and it's 1.7 millimeters apart. I'm normally putting mine up to 23, 24, 25 millimeters apart. So that perpendicular is going in other directions. Would love to get notified if you go live again. Great at teaching. Thank you. Well, I'd love to notify you, but I didn't want to tell everybody I was going to be here if it bombed. So I'm just excited. And when I get excited, I guess you guys can probably tell. All right. So that's the underlay that I usually use. For me personally, I lessen my density, but the way I learned that was by A, watching other design stitch, and B, doing a test cell. Because these settings will always change depending on whatever fabrics you're working on. And you'll find one that works pretty much good for you all the time, and you'll have your standards and work from there. But while I'm here, might as well just say what this inset is. That's the distance that the underlay and the running stitch along this edge are going to go. So why is this important? Those of you that are digitizing lettering or satin columns, or you have stitched somebody else's, a BX font that is a scripty satin, and it has like those, I usually see it on Facebook. There's a photo. It says, oh, why do I have this running stitch is not being covered by my satin stitch. So that, why is my underlay hanging out? Well, that's because the inset on that underlay is too close to the edge. So if I set this, see that little run stitch there? If I change to something low, do you see how it moves? It's like really close to the edge now. You can barely even see it. And if you move it up to a much higher number, you could see that it goes really in. Now, this edge, it kind of is like a grip for the stitches. So all these stitches on this edge here, they have to hold on to something, and you want to have a nice clean edge. The further in your underlay is, the less of a bump you'll get, the less of a defined. So you don't want to have a really big. You need to figure out what works for you. But normally what the solution is when someone says, "Oh, my underlay is sticking out," that running stitch is because it wasn't stable in the hoop. And the best way to get stability to the hoop is to hoop your items. I know you love to float, but if you float, be sure to add a basting box. A basting box is part of Essentials. It's base design. It's under the utility menu. If you only have StitchArtist, it's really easy to create a basting box. Go to your library shape here. Some people only have StitchArtist. I highly recommend adding Essentials because it's awesome. Because it does all the essential stuff. Let me go and take this vertical here. And I'm going to make my rectangular shape really large. Now, you have to remember, I am working on my laptop with a Bluetooth mouse that I don't really like. Anyway, you're going to make your box around your shape. Now you're going to set this to be a running stitch. Under your run, you're going to change it to a larger stitch length because you don't want to be there for days picking it out. I usually just run it all the way to the top because 6 millimeters is nice. Single run stitch, and now you have a basting box. And that's going to just make sure, first of all, it has to stitch first. So that stitches first. It's going to secure your fabric to your stabilizer in your hoop. So now everything, if you're floating something, the only thing that is stable is whatever is in this basting box. Everything that's outside, pins don't belong in a hoop. Neither do fingers. No fingers on the hoop either. Okay, I'm digressing here. I just had fun. Hopefully you guys had fun. Hopefully you learned a lot again, and I will have to watch this, see how I came across, see if how this works. There's lots of settings in this program that I'll have to figure it out. Anyway, I am off to work on more things. It was great seeing you guys tonight. And let's see if I can go back. What? Nope. How did I do this? Da-da-da. Wow, I've been talking for 24 minutes. Holy smokes. Sorry. There's supposed to be a way that I can switch. Da-da-da. Maybe. Thank you. You're welcome. Show. You can look. Nope. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I tried. Oh, maybe it's this one here. Oh, there I am. Okay. Sorry. You guys get silly, Lisa. It's late o'clock at night and I'm on beer. So anyway, hopefully you guys had a good time. I had fun, learned a lot. Or I didn't learn a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot too. Yeah, let's do it again. I'll have to see. I mean, this would be kind of fun to schedule something. I just didn't know how the Wi-Fi was going to work on my end, and I'm glad that those of you that have poor Wi-Fi on your end and my Wi-Fi, it all kind of worked out. Anyway, I will figure out my software better, and hopefully we can do this again. Take care, guys. Now just remember, this is here forever unless I delete it off of our group, but it's gonna be archived, and I bet I can put it in the units as its own category so that people can find it later. So in case you missed this, I don't want people to get upset. Oh, I missed your live thing. You can watch it again later and even fast forward if you want. So anyway, take care, guys. Now I got to figure out how to exit. Yes, make it a regular thing. Yes, okay. Yes. Okay. But well, I might be here for a long time because I can't figure out how to stop. There's got to be a way. End, possibly. Oh, this is kind of embarrassing. End live session. Okay, I think I figured it out. All right, take care, guys. Bye.